Looking for a great podcast to listen to on your drive home from work? The Blah Blah Bunker is a podcast that features interviews with regular people who have extraordinary stories to tell. Host Almar Himerson is one of them. In 25 years, he's gone from Icelandic lawyer and airline CEO to tattooed, bearded meat enthusiast with a startup in Central Europe. On the way, he's made plenty of stops and cultivated a habit of running into interesting people and asking them interesting questions. Nothing is off limits in the Blah Blah Bunker, and Almar may ask questions that most people wouldn't dare to ask. He interviews all kinds of people of diverse nationalities from all over the planet who are gambling experts, professional athletes, psychics, therapists, NASDAQ CEOs, singers, entertainers, and more. It's an eclectic show that features interesting people you will want to listen to. Check it out right now. The Blah Blah Bunker, available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. Add the Blah Blah Bunker to your playlist right now.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And we've got a couple of very big and important stories, and I'm going to start with the big one first to talk about. And this happened on Saturday, but it is just making the news today. Plane carrying President Trump forced to make emergency landing after engine failure. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. A plane carrying Donald Trump this is in Trending Politics that I'm reading from, but this is reported elsewhere. A plane carrying Donald Trump was forced to make an emergency landing after a speaking event at the RNC, Politico reported, citing two people familiar with the matter. The plane was in the air for between 20 and 30 minutes before one of the engines failed, and the pilot of the plane decided to turn around and return to New Orleans, according to Politico. The plane was en route to Palm Beach, Florida, where President Trump resides at his Mar-a-Lago estate. That means it was over the Gulf of Mexico. It had left New Orleans, was flying back to Florida.
Yeah, it was over the ocean.
It was over the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, oh, my goodness. The plane was in the air. Okay, I read that part. Audio of the communications between the pilot and air traffic control revealed that the landing was described as emergency in nature. Once the plane was on the ground, the RNC scrambled and reached out to a donor and found President Trump another plane. Trump eventually landed in Palm Beach around 3:30 a.m. Sunday. So if I'm on a plane and there's engine failure, if we make an emergency landing, I'm going back to the hotel and going to sleep or to the bar. I'm not
Trump.
No, Trump just give me
a tough guy.
Give me another plane. Spokespersons for Trump and the RNC refused to comment to Politico, which is a left-wing rag, by the way, Politico. Donald Trump is thankfully doing fine after the unusual incident, after giving a speech in New Orleans.
We just heard about this today. This happened Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday night.
That's crazy.
That would have been
I wonder how
god-awful.
this did not make the news until today, 4 days later.
That would have been god-awful. Oh,
yes,
man.
it would have.
Now, I spent the day at the hospital with our daughter, who's okay, by the way, but she had some issues, and we were in the emergency room all day. And this is my first time in an emergency room since the entire COVID pandemic, I believe. I don't think I've been to a hospital.
No.
You've been to the doctor with you.
Been
a few
to doctors' offices.
But I've never been to the emergency room of a hospital, not since before COVID. And it's much different. It's a much different experience. And I'm not going to go through the whole experience because I really don't like talking about COVID or anything involving it. I mean, I'm just ready to move on with my life, and I think that you guys are too. That's why you don't hear me and Kathy talking about masks and everything. I just want to move on. If I have a quarter in my pocket and it has the year 2020 on it, I want to get rid of it. I don't want to have anything with 2020 on it. You know what I mean? But this I have to talk about. When I was leaving the emergency room, just, I don't know, half hour ago, 45 minutes ago, one of the doctors I saw was barking orders at his nurses. He was rather rude about it. He was very loud, so you knew he was a doctor, stethoscope around the neck and everything else. Lunatic. Yeah, very insecure. He probably drives around with a stethoscope around the rearview mirror of his car.
Yeah, he probably wears it when he goes to the Publix.
Yeah, he probably does. And he was wearing with this. Now, the doctors, he was not our daughter's doctor, but the other doctors and all the nurses, they were all wearing masks because they're required. And they did require us to wear masks. And there was a section of the ER where they had the COVID people. And I didn't go by there, but our daughter went by there. They took her for some tests, and they wheeled her by there, and she said they did not look good. And but anyway, this doctor was wearing almost like a spacesuit. He looked like someone from the Andromeda strain, or maybe Outbreak with Dustin Hoffman and Cuba Gooding Jr. He's wearing that type of get up,
like a full body,
with
coverage,
with some type of. He has a tube that goes into the back of the head of this thing he's wearing that
like
looks
the Borg.
Yeah, it looks like it's connected to an oxygen tank or something.
It's now. What was he carrying a tank around? Because the tube is connected. Isn't it connected to something? Because it's putting air in.
He had some type of. He didn't have like tanks on like a scuba tank, but
pretty close.
But it looked like he had some type of filtration device on his back, and this tube was doing something. And of course he was. I have a lot of respect for doctors. I have friends that are doctors, and one of my friends is a doctor, Dr. Matez. You guys hear me talk about Dr. Matez with the biostation on the radio. And I always call him Dr. Matez. And he's like, Brian, call me Mitch. We've known each other. I always call him Dr. Matez. So I have a lot of respect for doctors. Okay? This guy barking orders at the nurses.
Except Dr. Biden.
Yeah, doctor. Well, she's not a real doctor. Okay?
That's
she's
the only
she's
one
a fake
we don't
doctor.
respect.
But this guy, he's talking very loudly to the nurses, barking out orders, so everyone knows he's the doctor.
Right, exactly.
He's wearing this Andromeda strain outfit, and he's just an obnoxious
with the tube
jerk
coming out of the back of the head.
Yeah, with the filtration device and everything else. And he to me, he looks like a jerk. And this
now were Emily's doctors covered like this?
No, I just said that.
They were wearing masks.
They were just wearing masks like everybody else, dressed normal, just wearing a mask. But this guy here, very obnoxious, only person in the whole emergency room wearing this outfit. Now, if this were like the beginning of COVID and we didn't know what's going on, I'd say, okay. But this guy looking like this, and the thing about this, okay, and the reason I bring this up is not to make fun of the guy, even though I am a little bit. Those of you out there that are in the healthcare profession, because I know there's a lot of healthcare people that listen to the program, doctors, nurses, and people involved in other aspects of healthcare. This is so over, unless he's got some disease where he has no immune system. But if he did, I don't think he'd be working in the hospital.
It's possible, true. It's possible he could be compromised.
But he's too obnoxious for that. He's compromised by his insecurities, this guy.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, this is overkill at this point in time. And I think it would make patients nervous, especially COVID patients. But this guy here, he thinks he looks cool. He thinks he looks awesome. He thinks he's a hero and a role model because he's walking around dressed like the guy in the Andromeda strain in the hospital.
You know what it is? He wants everybody there to know he's the smartest man in the room. That's what that's all about. That he's the one who's wearing the most protection.
The rest of us are science deniers.
He probably wore 2 condoms when he was having sex in college, if he was having sex.
This guy probably has sex with himself because he turns himself on more than anybody
he probably
ever
wears
could.
A condom doing that too.
But this guy here, he thinks that the rest of us are flat earthers.
Yeah, exactly. He wants everybody to know I'm the smartest guy here.
Yes.
Everybody else is a schmuck.
You haven't discovered fire yet.
I'm going to yell at everybody. And let me tell you, my mom used to work at Florida Medical Center. She was the head nurse back in the 70s. And she said this was before everybody was woke and everything. And she said that most of the doctors back then were complete a-holes. Now they could get in trouble, but they can be very abusive. I mean, I've been lucky. Most doctors are very nice, but there's a few that come along that are just arrogant, obnoxious, and rude. And I personally won't deal with doctors like that. I will tell them, you are fired, bring me somebody else.
I'll tell you.
There's no need to put up with that.
this guy here is, I've seen pictures of people like this, like on Twitter. I've never seen someone like this in person yet with the Andromeda strain outbreak gear on.
Yeah, bro, he took a picture and sent it to me. You were like, not just of the back of it.
I secretly took a picture in the ER of the guy and texted it to Kathy because I wanted Kathy to see this.
Yeah.
And I to take the picture, I pretended like I was taking a selfie of myself.
So you smiled at your phone?
But I was actually had the camera on this guy so I could snap the picture.
I agree. At the beginning of the pandemic, I'm sure a lot of doctors and nurses were wearing that. And maybe he's working in the COVID wing, though. That's possible. He could be working.
I saw people coming out of that area, and he was the only one dressed like he was dropped down
like
in
Matt
a nuclear
Damon,
winter.
Outbreak or something. Yeah,
Matt Damon wasn't an outbreak. Cuba Gooding Jr. and Dustin Hoffman.
No, okay. There's another movie with Matt Damon about contagion.
Whatever.
Yeah,
that's what he looked like. It was ridiculous, and no, it was ridiculous. Now, I just want to say this though about the engine failure of President Trump.
Yeah,
oh my goodness!
crazy.
Thank the Lord above.
Well, nothing can stop this.
That would have been just a terrible,
horrific.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness!
We'll hear the conspiracies.
But Kathy, you were listening to an interview with President Trump today, and I heard some of it too. Yeah. And President Trump was talking about what's going on with Ukraine and Russia, and how Germany and others are building up their armies. And he says we should be very afraid right now. And when President Trump talks about what's going on in Europe right now, people have to understand. He's president of the United States. He still gets national security briefings. So when he shares an opinion, the media, they hate him. So they want to say, oh, he's a reality star. He was a president of the United States, and he will be again, and he receives national security briefings, the same briefings that Biden and Kamala get. So when he shares an opinion, it is a very educated opinion. And I do believe that not only is he coming back in 2024, but those who are in the government understand this, and they make sure that he gets a very good briefing so that he's up to speed. And, what's going on right now, with Ukraine and Russia, something was confirmed by this idiot lady from the State Department yesterday that was an internet rumor for the past week, 2 weeks. There was some internet rumors all over the internet, and I've seen this over the last week or two, and a lot of people have been contacting me. Why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't you talking about that? And I said, because it's a pretty serious charge, and until it is confirmed, I can't responsibly go on the air and talk about this. And then this lady from the State Department was in a congressional hearing yesterday and confirmed what I'm about to tell you. And she's I don't think she was supposed to do that. She was the lady who said that the State Department learned about the MiGs being given to Ukraine by Poland when she was in the car. She was listening to the news on the way to the congressional hearing. The senior state, she's an idiot. She should have acted as if she knew. You don't act like the State Department of the United States is out of the loop on something that big.
Well, like what Trump said today on this podcast when he said, be very afraid. He said you have incompetent people running the government right now.
Beyond incompetent.
So he said, because they asked him, should we be afraid? He said, you should be very afraid because you have incompetence running the government. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And they asked him, are they incompetent? He said it's a mix. Incompetent, they're corrupt.
Yeah.
And he said that's what's running running things right now. And he said everybody should be afraid.
Yeah, so what this lady from the State Department said, and it was on all the cable because the hearing was carried live on TV. I saw it live. She said that there are biolabs in Ukraine, and they're concerned that the war might cause some problems. And this talk of biolabs has been an internet rumor for a week to 10 days, and now it was confirmed by the State Department. And there's a lot more going on in Ukraine and Russia than we realize. And I think when all is said and done and everything comes out, I think we're going to find out that this was not an unprovoked attack on Ukraine. I think something is going to come out that shows that Putin had information that Russia was under some type of threat, and this was a defensive or a preemptive action.
Maybe.
There's
I think there's a lot going on we don't know.
They have said for quite some time that Ukraine is the most corrupt country in the world, and that's saying a lot. Like Haiti is an anarchy, and there's a lot of corrupt places in different parts of the world. To say Ukraine, the people of Ukraine seem to be nice people, but the government is incredibly corrupt.
Well, we're nice people, at least half the country, and our government's corrupt too.
Yeah, Pelosi, Biden, all of them, they're all corrupt. So, there's something in play major in Ukraine. I don't think we know what it is yet. But I'm starting to, and they'll say, "Oh, the Putin puppet." I'm not a Putin puppet. I support the United States, not Russia, and I believe Putin's a bad guy. But you know what? Yeah, so is Ukraine.
He just bombed a maternity hospital today.
Well, I don't know if that was on purpose.
What do you mean?
Well, when there's a war zone going on, things crazy.
The maternity hospital in Mariupol is bombed, leaving children buried under rubble and mothers.
Oh, that's a terrible thing. I saw that.
Yeah, so
I saw that.
But
I don't think that was on
here's
purpose.
Here's how I feel about it. And
there's no way. What would be the benefit of him doing that?
I don't know.
Turning people against him even more? No.
I don't trust anybody in these scenarios. I think there's corruption on both sides. I think you have two countries here that have major problems, and I think we should stay out of it. I think that we should start drilling our own oil. We need to become more and more energy independent and efficient, and stop depending on Venezuela, Russia, whoever the hell to get our oil. I don't understand. If you believe in global warming, explain this to me. That means you're concerned about the entire globe, right? You're concerned about Earth, not just the space over our country. You're concerned about everything. How the hell is it better to drill in Russia or Venezuela than here? I understand they're concerned about oil leaks and all this stuff like the Valdez and all that. But if you're concerned about the globe overall, are you not concerned about the water in Venezuela or the wildlife in Venezuela? But you're concerned about the wildlife in Alaska. It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to drill and if you're cool with drilling in Venezuela and taking their oil, buying their oil, or spending billions of dollars on Russian oil, how is that okay for the planet? But drilling here is not. I don't understand how that works.
And Alaska,
you're either concerned. It's all BS. That's why
Alaska. Biden stopped the ANWR drilling project. Yeah. The reason that we bought President Lincoln bought Alaska from Russia for $1 million. Okay. That's a deal. The reason that Lincoln bought Alaska was not because of the caribou or whatever. It was to exploit the resources of Alaska.
Exactly.
And that's what Alaska's for. And, they've had that Alaska pipeline since the 70s. There has not been a single spill from the Alaskan pipeline. And the Alaskan pipeline, what all the leftists said is, it's going to be terrible for the caribou and all the other wildlife. And then what they found is that the natural wildlife actually love the Alaskan pipeline. I did not know this. The oil that goes through the pipeline is hot, very hot. It generates heat. And the moose and everything in Alaska, they actually live under the pipeline and have their babies there because of the warmth that it provides.
That's true.
They hug it. They love it. Now, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. Thank you so much, everyone. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air shout-out thank you on every episode. So the names you are about to hear are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Jacquelyn, Rick, Rich, and Nick. These are our top Patreon supporters. And there are great perks to becoming a Patreon supporter, including Patreon supporters get a commercial-free edition of each and every episode of the Brian Craig Show podcast. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the description of this and every episode, and a direct link on my website, briancraigshow.com. Now, we're going to take a quick break. There is a story that we found that is a disgusting story of betrayal of MAGA. We're going to talk about it when we get back. Do not go anywhere. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Back right after this.
Have you wanted to learn how to make a living in real estate? Real estate can be intimidating, but with the right guidance, you can begin a successful real estate career. Shannon Robnett is a second-generation builder and developer, fourth-generation realtor with over 35 years experience in real estate. And on his podcast, Robnett's Real Estate Rundown, he shares his experience and knowledge with listeners. Listen to this clip from a recent episode.
And I've always been able to get people to help me bring that dream to life so that at the end of the day, what we're seeing happen is we're seeing a raw piece of land turn into a commercial investment that is of benefit to the whole community. And then out of that, we're able to create a significant upside for the investors in that development project. So after 12 or 14 months, those investors will receive, I don't want to brag, but over 35% return.
Shannon Robnett shares advice that's actionable on wholesaling, fix and flips, single family, multifamily, and more. Robnett's Real Estate Rundown is available on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, YouTube, Podchaser, and Spotify. Add Robnett's Real Estate Rundown to your playlist right now.
I never really consider myself to be creative, and the bigger picture is what matters to me the most.
And being a doctor ain't for everybody. And people get into it and then start it and then they realize, hey, this is not what I want.
For me, self-care is so about rigor in a lot of ways. Like, it is intense. American capitalism in the last couple of years has really co-opted what self-care looks like.
Join us on the Concrete Growth Project podcast with Shania Taylor, where stories are the seeds that cause others to grow.
There's a new fashion line for those who want to pursue what they love, no matter what, and show others that nothing is impossible as long as you believe. The Miranda line, available online at mirandaline.com, offer high-quality, comfortable clothing that's both socially and environmentally conscious, which will allow you to feel good about the clothing you're wearing. Whether you're looking for t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, beanies, biodegradable phone cases, they have it all. These clothes and accessories are made on demand to reduce fabric waste. They're eco-friendly. All the materials can be recycled and are compostable. When you visit the store, make sure to sign up for their email list for great deals. Visit mirandaline.com. Share the link on all of your social media so your friends can discover the Miranda Line too. mirandaline.com. Start shopping right now.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks for tuning in. This story is about CPAC, and it's in the title of the show, so you've seen the title of the episode. I did not go to CPAC this year. I was going to go to CPAC because it was in Orlando, Florida, and we're in Florida. But I got upset and very suspicious about CPAC, and I talked about this on my weekend live stream on YouTube, and some people got upset with me about it. And what I was talking about was the invitation by CPAC of Tulsi Gabbard to be a speaker at CPAC. Now, CPAC is a conservative. It's like the Comic-Con for Republican conservatives, okay? And Tulsi Gabbard is a Obama-Biden liberal. And a lot of people said, oh, she trashed Biden. She is a Trojan horse. Tulsi Gabbard supports the Green New Deal. Tulsi Gabbard is in favor of gun control, taking away the Second Amendment. Go look all this. Read her Wikipedia, by the way. It's all there. She is in favor of legalizing all drugs. And I want to point out, I am not talking about marijuana. Marijuana is pretty much legal, and it's like a settled issue, all right? She's in favor of legalizing, I'm not talking about marijuana, all drugs. That would include crack cocaine, powder cocaine, heroin, whatever else. What's Bill Cosby's Quaaludes? If people still do Quaaludes with the disco balls and the platform shoes, But she's an extreme liberal. She works with the Bidens, and we have evidence of this. Remember, Tulsi Gabbard came into the second Democrat debate and wiped the floor with Kamala Harris, ran her out of the race, remember? Where she dropped out after. She was destroyed. And what had happened in the first Democrat debate, Kamala Harris went after Joe Biden and humiliated him. So the Bidens brought in Tulsi Gabbard, in the second debate, and she devastated Kamala Harris, brought up things I didn't even know about, which I'm not going to get sidetracked in because I've talked about those a lot. And so she works with the Bidens on top of all these liberal positions of hers. And she's tight with Obama. Remember, she's also from Hawaii, and her and Obama have a bond with that. So when she was speaking at CPAC, I was like, this stinks. This is just not right. The only time a Democrat should be speaking at CPAC is if they are there to announce they are leaving the Democrat Party and becoming a Republican. Like if Manchin wanted to do that, okay, have him at CPAC, let him leave, now. But no. And this attacking Biden is just a cover. And then this story, which is being reported in multiple sources, by the way, and this is really this really upsets me because I like Matt and Mercedes Schlapp. Okay, they're the people behind CPAC, and they got some explaining to do. I'm not going to condemn them yet because I want to hear their explanation for this. I'm going to give them the chance to do that. Not that they care that I'm giving them a chance or that I'm upset with them, but these are the people behind CPAC. Matt Schlapp, CPAC, took six-figure social action donation from Soros-linked dark money network. The American Conservative Union, which hosts the annual Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, took a six-figure donation from a leading left-wing fund for the purposes of civil rights, social advocacy, social action, advocacy, and more, according to fund's financial records. And this story is in the National Pulse. It's the New Venture Fund, whose mission statement revolves around race, equity, diversity, and inclusion commitments. They gave $183,250 to the CPAC group, ACU, which is run by Matt and Mercedes Schlapp in 2020. This fund is known for its work supporting anti-Trump and anti-conservative initiatives. And they've targeted Donald Trump. They've taken money from George Soros, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to read through the minutia of the article. You can look it up online and do that for yourself. But
interesting. We
can't trust CPAC now.
And you know what? Remember last year they had that stage set up that looked like a Nazi pin or Nazi symbol.
Oh yeah, well let's explain this.
Remember? No, hold on.
Yeah,
I know there was an excuse. Yeah. Back then, that the group that did
something happened.
That they did it on purpose to make them look bad. Maybe the Schlapps knew that. Maybe they're a bunch of traitors.
The CPAC, not this year's, the year before. One of the main stages we were watching on television. The stage was, Kathy said, shaped like a swastika, and we're like, how did this happen?
Not a swastika, another Nazi symbol.
Yeah, but it was, and you could see it. Maybe not when you're looking directly at it, but when you were looking up it a little bit, you could see it. And we were, what's going on here? What's going on here? But and now that they're taking,
this is happening,
taking money from a very radical group connected to George Soros.
What I'm wondering is,
having Tulsi Gabbard there, have they been infiltrated by people who are looking to destroy CPAC?
Right. I mean, I think that's really weird that a couple years ago they had that stage. Did they know about that? Were they in on this? Are they trying to make Republicans look bad? The problem is you can't trust anybody. And I wanted, before the show's over, I want to bring up one thing with Stephanie Grisham, who worked for Melania. She said something so outrageous. It's nuts. You can't trust anybody, and people that you think, or you could trust us. People that you think that are for Trump, all of a sudden you find out that they're screwing him behind his back, and they're screwing us, and you're like, well, what the hell? So the fact that they had that Nazi stage, I almost think they did it on purpose because they wanted to make them look bad. And now they're taking money from a George Soros group. I mean, that is, by the way, Mercedes and Schlapp, what's his name, the husband, Matt, they need to stop going to the plastic surgeon because they're starting to look alike. But, I always liked them too, but this bothers me very much. I mean, this should bother
I pulled this article up. Okay. It's a nod or blunder. No CPAC 2021 apology for a stage shaped like a white supremacist symbol. And I'm looking at it, and it's a white supremacist symbol that is a takeoff of the swastika into another symbol, so it could kind of be a hidden swastika.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Was that done on purpose?
Well, I'm not I am not saying that Matt and Mercedes Schlapp are into. Okay, Matt and Mercedes Schlapp,
they're in charge.
They're in charge. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt until they explain what's going on here, because I'm very troubled by this. And this the 2 years in a row now we've gotten the stage, and now this.
That's right.
What liberals do, and I've seen them do this years ago. Gay activist infiltrated the Republican Party at the local levels throughout the country with an organization of gay Republicans called the Log Cabin Republicans, and they claimed to be Republicans, and they got very active and became important and became donors. In the Republican Party, but they were really gay activists who were pushing some.
A lot of these. So groups, look at the Proud Boys. A lot of these groups are infiltrated.
There's a lot there. If you go over the years with the Republican Party, a lot of times leftist organizations infiltrate the You see, the Republican Party is always looking to look diverse, because a lot of Republicans feel like they get called racist and things like this all the time. So they want to. They're so desperate to prove that they're not, that they allow people in without vetting them. That because they're with another group.
I think you're giving them too much credit. I
see this.
Corrupt.
You think Matt Schlapp and Mercedes Schlapp are corrupt?
They're taking money. They took almost $200,000. I mean, that's not about looking inclusive.
I hope you're wrong, Kathy.
Well, so do I. But that's not about looking inclusive. Did you see this thing with Project Veritas? They had another reporter. This guy's won like Pulitzer Prize. He works for the New York Times. Another one who's in a bar flapping his gums with some pretty girl. I mean, these guys are idiots. You get them in a bar, you get them drunk, and they spill their guts. They never learn. He said with January 6th that they knew that they actually in the New York Times published articles that it was not as big a deal as that some of the media was making it out to be. And they really didn't highlight those stories. And they did a whole thing on it. And he said, this is out of his mouth, he said there were many, many, many federal agents posing as regular people and as MAGA. He said everybody knows that they were there, they were instigating people. And so that's out of this reporter for the New York Times who said this to some bimbo that works for Project, I shouldn't say bimbo, some reporter, that got him drunk and he spilled his guts like that's what they always do. But that was very interesting. I wanted to talk about, and if you go to Project Veritas, I was going to play the audio, but it's too low. And you have to have subtitles to know. Stephanie Grisham, who to me is the biggest traitor, she was Melania's press secretary for years. She was with her for years, and she hated the Trumps. I believe, I don't know how they got hooked up with her, but I believe she was sent in there to spy on them because she was never their friend. The minute she quit, she wrote a book and she went on the talk show circuit, totally trashing Melania and Donald. And she said something that is so outrageous. This is what liberals do. They say something so outrageous that even liberals can't believe it, and it destroys any credibility they have. So she was talking about Trump and Putin. It says here, this is coming out of The Hill. Former White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham said that after working under former President Trump, it was clear that he admired Putin and his willingness. Oh, shoot. Hold on. I just went to jump to an ad. Give me a second. And his willingness to. Give me a second. I keep hitting an ad for when I'm trying to scroll the article.
Happens to me all the time. No big deal.
Admired President Putin and his willingness to stifle dissent. This is crazy. Listen to this. She said, I think Trump feared him. I think the man intimidated him, Grisham said of Trump and Putin during a Tuesday appearance on The View. Oh, she's on The View. Great. I also think he admired him greatly. I think he wanted to be able to kill whoever spoke out against him. That's what she said about Trump. She said this on The View yesterday, that Trump admired Putin's ability to kill people that agree with him. That is the most insane thing I've ever heard somebody say.
There's this group of people.
She's lost her mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is not true. That's her opinion, by the way.
No, that's not her opinion. She just made that up.
No, but that's not based on any
She
fact.
just made that up.
Right, but I'm saying she said, I think.
Well,
that's her assessment because she hates the guy.
Here's the thing, okay? There are people that make a living being anti-Trump people like her, right?
This goes beyond
and what happens, this is what happens. People like Stephanie Grisham, Trump is pretty perfect for a politician. He doesn't do much that's wrong. I can't think of anything he's ever done wrong.
Yeah.
But he's never done anything like illegal or corrupted in office. And these people make a living trashing Trump. Yeah. So they really have nothing to say, and they make things up. And the more they're out there, they got to come up with new stuff. So they start to make up more and more outrageous things to try to stay relevant, and it becomes even absurd. Like she was on The View.
That's absurd.
On The View, she also talked about how her son is gay, and he was ashamed that she worked for President Trump, and she was talking about the Don't Say Gay bill. And even one of the ladies on The View says, well, that's not in the bill. Those that are opposed to the bill say that.
Exactly.
So Stephanie Grisham, like Michael Cohen and others, they've got nothing to say. They've made up so many stories. Now they just making up crazy stories, and they're discrediting themselves, even among the liberals that are dying for anti-Trump rhetoric.
That's what I'm saying. Like these people eventually, like her, Michael Cohen, they eventually say something so outrageous that even liberals are like, okay, that's just ridiculous.
That's right.
And whatever credibility she has, none with us, she has just blown it with these outrageous statements that Trump is jealous of Putin because he wants to be able to kill people that don't agree with him. That is insane to say something like that. And to me, that shows you what a bitter, angry, vicious person she is. And to sit there and use her son on TV to shame President Trump. Well, if she didn't like that job, she shouldn't have been there. Why the hell did she work in the White House for 4 years? Mm-hmm. Why was she there? You know why she was there? To spy on the Trumps and to trash them and write a tell-all book full of lies so she can make a boatload of money.
That's right. Well, listen, we are all out of time. I know a short show tonight because I'm just wiped from being in the hospital.
It's been a busy week.
I'm just wiped from being at the hospital all day. It's an exhausting place to be. Yeah. But we'll be back tomorrow with a brand new episode. And there's and believe me, sadly, there's terrible things going on in the world. So we're going to have a lot to talk about tomorrow. Unfortunately, really, because between the betrayal of the American people by Biden with the gas prices and what's going on in the Russia-Ukraine war and much, much more, there's a lot of terrible things that we're going to have to explore over the next weeks and months and years. My name's Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we will talk to you next time.
Business owners, you love what you do, and you work hard making your business a success. But let's face it, every company has tasks that take up your valuable time and are boring. Intriate is an international company that can take care of the boring, monotonous tasks for you and your clients. Intriate covers the entire world, the United States, Germany, Austria, Dubai, the United Kingdom, and Canada. Their main service is data entry, which covers basically any work which requires inserting data, like copying information from photos and writing them to a database, listing e-commerce products, and that's just the beginning of what they do. Every business is faced with different, monotonous, and boring tasks. Let Intriate take the boring jobs from your business, entities, and clients and handle them for you. What are you waiting for? Take your company to the next level. Contact Intriate online at intriate.org and learn how they can help you and your company. Intriate.org.